Okay, there we go. All right, my friends, hello. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who have been around, if you're new here, hello. Thank you for watching. My name is Katrina Kofed. I'm an anti-diet health coach, nutritionist, and I help women and men heal the relationship with food, overcome struggles with emotional eating, and create healthy habits that last for life. And I have two cute little cats. Ooh, this is Binks. They will be making a guest appearance. They are the true stars of the show, if you can't tell. So today I'm really excited because I am going to be talking all about chronic stress, causes, potential stressors, symptoms, how to know if you're dealing with chronic stress or if your stress is normal, and what you can do about it. And I'm specifically going to be talking about one thing that makes a huge difference in my clients' lives and something that has made a huge difference in my life for overcoming chronic stress. So stick around, be sure to like, subscribe, do all the things. I share new videos usually every week, all about different health topics, healing your relationship with food, applying practical intuitive eating, overcoming emotional eating, how to implement practical health habits, all the things. If you're into that, if you like that type of thing, if you're into evidence-based nutrition, that's what I'm really big on. Subscribe, follow, you know the deal. So specifically, I want to talk about the way that stress can sabotage our healthy habits, right? So a lot of people come to me and they want to work with me because they want to heal their relationship with food. They want to overcome dieting. They want to stop yo-yo dieting. They want to stop feeling so restrictive around food. They want to stay consistent with new healthy habits. They want to learn how to eat healthier. They want to learn how to exercise more regularly, okay? Eat healthier, exercise more. It's a lot of us want to do it, right? But why doesn't it happen? There are many reasons why those things are hard to implement, but I think one of the big reasons that a lot of people maybe don't think about is that they're stressed, and that their stress is getting in the way of them taking action on these healthy habits, okay? So if you are constantly stressed and by the time 5 p.m. rolls around and you're done with your day job, whether you work remotely or you're back in the office or you have a less traditional, office job, you come home from work or you come out of your office from your home and you're tired, you're maybe overwhelmed, you're maybe kind of just like mentally a little burnt out. And this morning you had the best of intentions to work out, but now you're tired and now you need to make dinner, and then you also had to run this errand and you just don't feel like it, right? So it's really easy to chalk that up to I'm not motivated, I'm just tired, I'm not disciplined enough, whatever it is. When in reality, sure, some of those things might be true. And if you've watched my videos for a while, if you have followed me on TikTok or Instagram, you know I'm not a fan of motivation. And I don't know, I think I did make a video already about motivation versus consistency. All that to say, I don't think it's a problem that you're not motivated. I think there are other things at play here. So all of this to say is that we are not doing ourselves any favors when we downplay the effects that stress is having on our lives. Anyway, this is getting to be a really long section about why I care about stress. There's also a big personal reason for why I care so much about helping people reduce the impact of stressors in their lives and reduce the intensity and frequency of stressors in their lives. When I was in my undergrad, when I was double majoring in biology and psychology, I was also teaching group fitness classes, and I was teaching boot camp and HIIT and cycling classes, okay? And at this time, this was when I was really struggling with my relationship with food, and I was struggling with disordered eating, and I was working out all the time. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to be the super fit person because I was a fitness instructor. And when you teach fitness classes, it really feels like you have to live up to a certain image, even if no one says it outrightly. If you're teaching fitness classes, you probably should look the part, is how it feels. So all this to say, the classes I was taking such an intense course load. I was working like 2 jobs on the side and teaching these fitness classes, and I was doing my own workouts on top of it and just like not sleeping enough. I was so burnt out, and it took me, I was guilty of doing that thing that I just mentioned earlier of like, oh, I'm not stressed. Things have always been this way because it was like one day, I remember this semester, this must have been, like I said, 5 years ago now, I hit this wall where it was like, I just couldn't keep going anymore. And all of a sudden the chronic stress just hit me so intensely, and I was so confused and just so frustrated because I was like, I'm young. I used to have the energy and the capability to keep up with this intense workload, right? With all these responsibilities I had on my plate. I had all these classes for my 2 majors, and I was teaching fitness classes. I was doing my own workouts, and I was working some other job at the time too. So it was just a lot going on, like a lot of demands on my mental energy and physical energy too, because I was doing all these fitness things, right? So, and I'm telling you, my chronic stress got so bad. Like, it was to the point where I had to go home to take a nap at 3 p.m. just to get through the rest of the day, because I would teach a fitness class at 5 p.m. and I had to go take a nap. And it literally, I mean, I could like almost cry thinking about it, because it was honestly such a horrible time in my life, because I was struggling so seriously with stress, and it felt like I couldn't just drop everything I had going on. I couldn't just quit my job. I couldn't just drop out of my classes, right? Like, that wasn't an option. So it really felt like, what the heck was I gonna do? I was just really struggling with this. So I've been meaning to do a longer story time about my health journey and how I got to where I am today and the struggles I had along the way. That's a very brief blip of my story with chronic burnout or adrenal fatigue. A sidebar about adrenal fatigue: a lot of doctors do not recognize it as an actual syndrome. So whatever you want to call it, adrenal fatigue or chronic burnout, I'm okay with either term, but I just want you to know, like, that it's a serious thing. And just because adrenal fatigue might not be commonly recognized doesn't mean the symptoms are not there and aren't serious in and of themselves. So all this to say, I will be filming a longer, in-depth story of my health journey soon. My point is, I really struggled with this, and that was what led me to research and learn all about adrenal fatigue, how heightened cortisol can really impact your hormones and impact your mental health, your stress load, your energy levels, your fatigue, your ability to focus, like all of these factors, right? Launched me into this whole like sort of wormhole about chronic stress and how it impacts our bodies. And I ended up doing a whole presentation about adrenal fatigue because of my own personal experience with it. It was a really transformative time in my life, because I had to change the way I looked at health. I had to change the way I looked at fitness, and it really changed my whole outlook on what is sustainable for our long-term healthy habits. Oh, so that was just like, it was such a hard time for me, honestly. I can't even I'm very fortunate to never have been diagnosed with depression, but it was honestly the closest I could ever have been to being diagnosed with depression, because it was like all the joy was sucked out of me. Like, chronic stress will really do that to you. And I hope that if you're watching this, I hope you can't relate to what I'm saying, because I hope you haven't been to that point before where you've been so stressed it feels like nothing is like happy anymore. And I'm a pretty upbeat, optimistic, positive person. So for me, that was really when like the alarm signals started going off, because I was like, I'm not even like, there's like no joy in my day-to-day, you know? And I'm like I said, I'm not like skipping around cheering all day long, but I'm a pretty happy, content, optimistic person. So for me, that was a huge wake-up call within that whole experience, that like, wow, this isn't just taking a toll on my physical health. Like, I wasn't just exhausted and completely physically burnt out. It was literally impacting my emotions and my mood and my experience, right? All this to say, that's why chronic stress is so serious. And that's why, even if it's just more short-term stressors, we all have stressors in our lives, whether it be dealing with traffic on a daily basis, or little annoying things at work that you have to deal with, or the stress of raising your kids and making sure that they are surviving and thriving every single day, right? Like, we all have these little stressors that might be larger in some cases. So all this to say, I want you to take it seriously, and I want you to really look at what are the stresses in your life, what is contributing to your stress, and how are you coping with it right now. And that leads me into another thing I want to talk about today, which is that I created an entire guide called Stop the Stress Sabotage that you can download by clicking down here in the description. And in this guide, I walk you through what are the symptoms and common causes of chronic stress. What are some potential stressors, right? Because we're talking about stress, but you might be like, what even? I know I'm stressed because of work, but what else could be stressing me out? That's another common misconception I see, is that a lot of people are thinking about stress. If I were to call you up or FaceTime you right now, ask you if you're stressed, you'd be like, yeah, work's kind of stressful, but otherwise not bad. Or yeah, this family situation I'm dealing with is a little stressful, but otherwise I'm fine. We're very quick to only think about stress as work or family related, when in reality, there is a lot of other types of stress that can impact not just your mental and emotional health, but your physical health as well. And that, I think too, is what's so insidious about stress, and why we can't keep writing it off as being not important, because it's easy to be like, oh, but I can deal with my stress, or it doesn't really affect me. Stress literally affects your physiology. It can lead to heightened blood pressure. It can lead to increased incidence of heart attack and other heart disease. So stress is something certainly to be taken very seriously, right? Can lead to chronic pain, can lead to a lot of digestive issues. Like if your stress continues to go unchecked and just continues to build up and you're not managing it in a healthy way, it can cause some very, very serious issues down the road. Like your body can create all types of conditions and syndromes for you that if you were to go to the doctor, your diagnosis would literally be chronic stress. So take this seriously. This is not to get you so worried about stress, but really just to say like, hey, this is serious. And although it's easy to write off these stressful things because we'd rather not think about it, it's important that you learn how to deal with your stress effectively and manage your stressors as much as possible. So in my guide, Stop the Stress Sabotage, I really dive into the 4-step process that I use for myself to dig myself out of that horrible hole of chronic stress that I told you about from a few years ago. And I use it with my clients, both my one-on-one private coaching clients and my clients inside the method, Healthy Habits for Life. So this 4-step process, I'm outlining it for you for free in the guide, Stop the Stress Guide. So go download this guide because it's really, really good. And I wouldn't put these things in there if they weren't actually going to help you. So I want you to go download the guide. I want you to read all through it and read the 4 steps that I'm telling you about there. And I won't tell you what all of them are today because this video is getting long enough already. But I specifically want to talk about one of them, which you can probably tell is joy. And that's kind of what I mentioned earlier on in the video, is that joy is a really, I think, an interesting perspective or an interesting tool and emotion to use to examine chronic stress. So I will give you the brief overview of this because this whole thing I'm about to explain is literally a 15-20 minute lesson inside my program, the Method Healthy Habits for Life. In Module 3 is called Master Your Physiology and Health Behaviors for Life. I talk about all the non-nutrition related factors that are impacting your physical, mental, and emotional health and well-being. Things like stress, gut health, hormones, metabolism, genetics, chronic disease, right? All these other things. But specifically, I talk a lot about chronic stress and how the stress cascade in your body impacts other hormones, impacts fat storage, impacts your metabolism, impacts your sleep, yada, yada, yada. It's a lot of stuff. Point is, if you really want to dive more into this, you can do that inside the Method Healthy Habits for Life. The links are below, or you can send me a DM on Instagram to chat more about the program and make sure it's the right fit for you. All of this to say, the reason joy is so crucial in understanding and healing from chronic stress is because of the way stress is perceived and interpreted by our nervous system, okay? So I'm really trying to keep this short because, like I said, this is a very long lesson inside the method because it's basically physiology. So in your nervous system, you have 2 different nervous system responses. You have your parasympathetic nervous system response and your sympathetic nervous system response. And some of you might know that as fight or flight, or what's also called rest and digest. Okay, so parasympathetic is rest and digest. Sympathetic nervous system response is fight or flight. And you might have heard it called fight, flight, or freeze because we now know that there's 3 responses that we have in regards to acute stress. So this is the example I always give. Let's imagine it's 1,000 years ago. I don't know. Let's imagine it's way back in time. You're in a forest, you're collecting berries, and all of a sudden a grizzly bear is chasing after you, okay? Boom, your body is going into fight, flight, or freeze mode, aka sympathetic nervous system response. You're being chased by this bear. You're literally, your life is threatened. This bear might eat you if you can't get away. So what happens, there's an entire cascade of responses that happen in our body. Our pupils dilate, blood goes away, blood is diverted to your extremities away from your digestive system, and digestion essentially turns off because right now your body's only concern is getting out of there alive, okay? Our bodies have been conditioned and have literally been fine-tuned over millions of years of evolution to be able to have a very effective stress response and escape stressful situations when they happen so that we can survive. It's a survival mechanism. It's really interesting from an evolutionary biology perspective. Fascinating. All this to say, you're running away from this bear, or maybe you're not running. Maybe your response is to fight, right? So fight, flight, or freeze. Most of us, I think, can agree we would either run from the bear or you would probably be frozen in shock, in which case the bear might eat you. Hopefully not. My point is, this is a really good metaphor for understanding how your stress response works in your body. So you might say, okay, Katrina, that was back then. Obviously, there are no bears chasing me now. How stressed can I really be? The thing is, the bear is no longer chasing you, but the bear, is still activating your stress response. You're sitting in traffic all day long. Someone, I don't know, comes close to rear-ending you. Someone cuts you off in traffic on the highway. That's stressful. That sends a jolt through your body, right? Makes your heart pump a little faster, makes your heart rate go up, maybe freaks you out a little, throws you off, makes you a little keyed up and jittery. I know that's what happens for me. I get pretty irritated. You get a stressful or a concerning message at work. That's stressful, right? Again, those same stressful, that stress cascade, those responses that happen when we receive and interpret other stressors. You get a call that your kid fell and broke his arm at school. That's stressful. Best believe that stress cascade is happening, right? You find out your boyfriend of 2 years is cheating on you. Very stressful. Not only is that emotionally heartbreaking and distressing, it's literally distressing. It's stressful to your body. So all these things that we don't think of as like, oh, a boyfriend cheating on you is stressful, right? We don't we're like, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. I can't believe that, right? But you're not like, oh, that's stressful. It is very stressful. So your emotions are heightened. All these things are happening. That's a stress response happening in your body. All this to say, my point is, even if your scenarios aren't quite as dramatic as what I described, we are constantly dealing with stressors. So in the past, the bear would chase us. We would be very stressed. We would escape. You run 2 miles and let's say you're away from the bear. Now your body says, okay, we can relax. It's going to take a few hours to come back down from that heightened state. But your body's like, okay, we can take a few deep breaths. And then it goes into rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system state. That's where we will prefer to be because your body is calm, digestion is running properly. It's like what I call green light, go, systems running as usual. However, in our world today, that's not really the case anymore because we constantly have all these stimuli coming our way. We have all these stressors coming our way all the time, right? So I said I would keep this short. I don't think I did a very good job doing that. But my point is, I hope you kind of understand the way that stress works and the reason that it's important to understand the difference between fight, flight, or freeze and rest and digest, okay? How you've been waiting, how does joy play into all of this? Joy, let me keep it short. Joy and fun and laughter, anything that makes you feel more lighthearted, brings out your inner child, as we like to say, is activating your rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system response. Why does this matter? Okay, because if you are existing in this fight or flight sympathetic nervous system response phase for too long, your body is pumping out higher levels of cortisol. And like I said, I get into that in the method, why that's not a good thing over time. Basically, that's what's going to lead to chronic burnout, chronic stress, fatigue, exhaustion, can lead to you gaining extra weight, extra fat around your belly, right? All these things. And mostly it leads to you feeling like crap because having all this heightened cortisol, being constantly stressed is just it's not a good feeling. It feels horrible. If you've been there, you know how awful it feels. So my point is, the reason joy is this really crucial antidote is because when you're laughing, your body says, oh, if I'm laughing, I cannot also be running from a bear. If I'm laughing, how stressed can I really be, right? So I kind of like to describe laughter as being the off button for your sympathetic nervous system response because your body is quite literally interpreting that as, oh, well, if I have time to stop and laugh, the bear cannot be chasing me anymore. So that's very oversimplified, but I hope that metaphor kind of helps you understand why joy is so important, right? And I'm not asking you to like go have the happiest day on earth every single day of your life. That would be very unrealistic and quite frankly impossible. But what I am asking you to do and what I'm suggesting that you do to really apply this into your life is figure out how can you start injecting some more joy, happiness, uplifting, satisfaction, fun into your life on a regular weekly basis, right? So these really don't have to be big things. This can be small things. You saw my 2 cats earlier. They are the little fluffy lights of my life. They bring me so much joy and love and humor every single day. And this isn't to say go get a pet, but my point is, like, if you have a pet, your pet probably brings you a lot of joy. If you have a significant other, your significant other probably brings you hopefully some laughter, hopefully some joy and some love and some warm fuzzy feelings. My point is just, regardless of whatever life situation you're in, how can you find some small things that you can do on a weekly or maybe even a daily basis that will help you laugh a little bit more? And I mean it by laughing. Like in my clients, I assign them homework to find things that will make them laugh and to try to do them every single day. This could be a funny TikTok video. It could be a funny YouTube video. It could be watching part of a comedian special on Netflix, right? It could be reading a funny book. I have a few, there's a few really funny travel authors who write in like a very kind of like dry humor style where I literally find myself like chuckling out loud. So things like that. It doesn't have to be like deep belly laughing, you know, like something cheesy, like someone just told you a great joke. But my point is, what can make you laugh? What could bring you joy? What could bring a smile to your face? that you can do maybe on a daily basis. So I hope you can start to see why joy, happiness, feeling more uplifted, feeling more satisfied, finding something to laugh at is so important. And I know it might feel like, okay, how am I supposed to do that? That's where I need you to get creative. And that's why I also want you to go download my Stop the Stress Sabotage guide, because I talk about it in there and I give you some really good specific homework in there to help you find ways to increase the joy in your life, right? Obviously, joy might be easier to experience on the weekends when you have more free time. Maybe you're going out with friends, maybe you're going to hang out with family, friends, your kids, whatever, playing some fun games, running around outside. What do I know? Okay, whatever your hobbies are, whatever it is that you like to do, your homework is to download the Stop the Stress guide and figure out how can you incorporate more of these activities into your life. They don't have to take an hour every single night. Like I said, this could be something small where you do it for 2 to 5 minutes, right? But my point is, how can you start to get those things integrated into your routine and lifestyle so that you're taking yourself out of that chronic stress response, the fight, flight, or freeze response? That's my homework for you. Download the Stop the Stress guide, because this was like a very, very brief version of one of the 4 steps that I include to how I overcome chronic stress and how I help my clients overcome chronic stress. And again, like I said, if you want a lot more of this, if you want way more support with implementing healthy habits for life and really dealing with chronic stress for good and understanding how to change your health habits and your lifestyle, the method Healthy Habits for Life is the program for you. I dive so deep into this. I care about it a lot, and it's really something that can take a huge toll on your health if you're not aware of it. And it's something that doesn't really have to, right? At the end of the day, there are going to be some fixed stressors in our lives, like our job. Maybe your kids are stressful, but you love them, of course, right? There are some fixed stressors that we can't necessarily change. However, we can do 2 things. 1, we can change the stressors, like I said, which isn't always possible. 2, we can change our perception of the stressor. And that, again, is not always possible, but we gotta find some mix of these 2 to do what we can to reduce the amount of stress. And then I guess under number 2 is that we change the way we respond to stressors, right? And that's where this whole Stop the Stress guide is really coming in, and where if you're a client of mine and you're in the method, you know that in module 3, that's where we talk all about that, is how to overcome that stress and how to also shift your perception of the stress as well. I hope this video was helpful. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear what you think. How do you feel like you can bring more joy into your life? How do you feel like stress is playing a role in your life? If this is something you want to hear me talk more about, let me know in the comments, because I'm more than happy to make another video about it. For now, go download the Stop the Stress guide, and I will see you very soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll chat soon.